Welcome to BAF Draft Episode 7. This is Gary Wilkinson, your host, and with me this week again is Matt Zerbe. And this week I have a special guest, Mr. Ike, and I'll let him introduce himself further. And with no further ado, enjoy part 2 of Episode 6 and 7. Okay, so you never got a chance to play Narset?
No, never got a chance. One time to pull Narset. It's I love the color combination. I love what she does. I just never got a chance to fully be in love with the Narset.
And then I forgot what that one does.
It's a 4-cost?
I think it's a 4-cost. 1 blue, 1 white, 2 colorless.
Yeah. All I know is that it minuses, and then you can cast cards from your graveyard.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
And then they took out Life of the Loam. I can't remember the other stuff. And they put in the Jace. They put in the Gideon.
They put in all the flip walkers.
Yeah. Yep.
They put all the flip walkers in.
Hanger back walker.
They put High Tide is the one I'm excited to
Okay,
play.
And that's an older card, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so basically, and you probably hear a little break earlier on this. We had a buddy of ours come in. I'll let him introduce himself by whatever name he chooses.
All right, my name is Ike.
Okay, Ike.
Greetings, Ike.
Will do, yeah.
He is the guy that, this is what's cool, he found our BAF Draft group by listening to our first podcast.
For some definitions of cool. I mean, that is a compliment because I'm a nerd, you know. So.
Well, it kind of legitimizes us. I felt it legitimized us a little bit more than anything else. I think it's more than even getting paid. The fact that, well, you please tell the story because the story is so awesomely phenomenal.
Well, I don't know. The story, I might tell it might take too long. So
That's fine. We got all the time in the world.
All right, so fill up the hard drive.
Yeah.
Basically, I'm new to the area, you know, a voluntary deployment for a short timer, and, you know, didn't have any nerd supplies, as I refer to them. And that's okay for me to say that because, you know, if you're the thing, you can use the word to... Never mind. Take ownership of, you know, so it's not really a...
I proudly sport my
yeah,
sport.
you know what I'm saying. So, you know, I was out looking to see if, like, the USO had, you know, comic books, or I had heard at one point, at least I had Googled, Magic on Bagram, and I found a Facebook group from half a decade ago, because, you know, we've been here
That was
a
our
long time.
I think that was our old one before we named it BAF Draft.
No, that was not
No?
me.
That was a different one?
That was before me and I think even you started playing. That was a very old
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So, and then, of course, there was, like, random forum postings.
Yeah.
And, you know, you can't really follow up on any of that kind of stuff. And then there's the whole OPSEC thing. But then, you know, I was looking, just, I don't know, a couple of hits down. I don't know if it was on the second page.
He's a deep Googler over here.
Yeah, you know you're doing something if you're on the second page of Google. But I guess I needed to crack a pack pretty hard because I went to the second page. But no, it might have been on the first. You know, Bagram. One of the other names they use for Bagram around here is BAF. And if you're not near the military, it's acronyms all over the place. So Bagram Air Field, BAF. So I just searched for BAF and Magic, just because I don't know, it was late at night, and I
did correct hashtags.
I don't use hashtags. They're still pound signs. Let's just put it that way. And then yeah, so I saw something on SoundCloud. I'm like, SoundCloud, that's what? And then so I listened to a little bit of the podcast. First of all, it doesn't work at work. But that's okay. And then I'm listening to it on headphones in the room, and then all of a sudden, like, you know, you hear airplanes take off, or you hear...
Here's the deal. I went through with the, who are those people called? The...
security folks.
No, not security. I went through public affairs. And I got a memo and everything saying, give me my guidelines when I do the podcast. So I went through them before I even did the podcast.
All right, so... What do I need to do? Start over?
Nope, just keep going. I can cut and paste and edit everything on here.
All right, so basically, you know, I'm on my headphones and I hear an airplane take off.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man. Because I don't know, if you spend any time here, there's all kinds of noises and the airplanes get crazy loud. And so I took the headphones off and I didn't hear the airplane anymore. And I'm like, well, that's a really good recording because it sounded just like it sounds like. So I rewound it a little bit, and there was the airplane again. I'm like, okay. I guess these guys are here, and it's not just some dudes in the States, putting it out there. And then there's the logo had at the USO, and then, and I was like, all right, so they play at the USO, but there's multiple USOs, and so I didn't know where, and that's how I Googled it. Concatenated BAF Draft, and then so it's a Facebook group, and of course the Facebook group is closed. So do
you want to go into that one?
Yeah, we could. Yeah,
that's why if I don't know
interrogation,
I don't know the person and I didn't meet them, I let Matt handle all the other applications that are getting on.
So I'm not really sure which happened first. Either I went to the USO on a Tuesday night and asked the USO people if someone there plays Magic, because it gave the time and place. And I knew there was multiple USOs, so they were like, "You mean cards? Because we play Hold'em." And I'm like, "No, yeah, cards, but not that kind of cards." And so I thought, okay, well, I guess that's not really a thing. But apparently, you guys just didn't.
That was when you were on leave, and I was on my Magic sabbatical, and Rob was showing up sometimes.
So. I mean, I wasn't going to recognize anybody, so I just went back to the room, and I figured I'd send a message to the group on Facebook, apply to join the group, and then get interrogated. But I just thought, hey, maybe you're not at this USO, maybe you're at the USO I wouldn't go to. So, and then the message came back: "This is a closed group. Who are you, and why do you want to join the group?" And I'm like, isn't it obvious? Do you play Magic? Are you on Bagram? Where are you? And I'm like, okay, well, I don't really want to say where. I guess on the side that has a laundry facility right next to a dining facility. Like, I don't know, how do you describe?
I just wanted to know that you playing on BAF is all I want to know.
Well, I wasn't. I was trying to find some people to play with, but. Yeah, so
now I don't do those requests when it comes to that kind of stuff. I let Matt handle that. I don't think sometimes before I type.
Yeah, it was kind of like, do you even know what Magic is? And I'm like, how dare you?
Well, here's the reason why I say that. It's because sometimes we get a lot of so OCN is other country nationals. These are guys that are not Americans, and sometimes they see a sign and I think just want to join a group, and that happens a lot actually. We get a pretty it's not been so much lately, but it was last year. We had quite a bit of just like, who is this guy?
Well, you have to always watch out for bots.
Yeah.
The easiest way to find out is you click on their profile, and if the profile's hidden, then obviously they're a real person. If they're open and they've just joined like 60 groups in the past hour, then you know it's a bot.
So what's this? Okay, I guess I'm ignorant on this stuff. What are they, just like advertisement collector, or just some way to go out and advertise to people, or
they just troll through groups and add
collecting data to market
bestiality porn on.
Oh my gosh!
No, thank you.
Okay, so how long have you been playing Magic, Ike?
Off and on since like '95.
Okay, so you were an Ice Age guy like me.
Revised, and I did have a couple of cards from the Dark.
Okay.
They were too expensive. I remember. Oh, are you ready for that? I remember. I was there.
Hey, man, I was there too. So, let's talk these old Magic War stories.
All right. So, Magic Horror stories.
Matt doesn't know.
See-through revised packs, pulling a land as your rare, not being able to afford. I mean, I was a kid. I was a teenager, but I didn't drive yet, because as soon as I started driving, fuel and insurance took all of the comic book and Magic card money. And that's just how that was.
Now, but I bet you wish you now had that Magic card money spent in Magic cards now.
Well, maybe. I think right now I wish that I hadn't dropped like my brain geyser in the dirt on a camping trip or something like that. You know what I mean? Like just but back then they were cards. They were just as utilitarian as a deck of playing cards, and you played. I think it was the older folks that were collectors of like sports cards and things like that. They saw opportunity and did some. I might call it hoarding, although I think that's.
But see, I will say this: for the '90s, because I was a sports card collector in the '90s, that was a big fad in the '90s. And had you spent all that money, because most of those cards that people bought sports cards for back then are like half or less than what they're worth when they pay for them. Complete, obviously, astronomically different with Magic cards.
Yeah, well, I mean, back then there was.
I think Shivan Dragon tends to disagree with you.
Well, okay, yeah, I tell you,
at the time. And
yeah, it was about the
50
same
cents.
price as Black Lotus was, like right there with it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was one of the most cost-effective creatures.
Yeah, I remember looking at the 93 Scry printouts, or 94, and it had those like $5 difference between the two.
And then, it was also around the same time. So it's weird. I'm not sure if I remember, or if I remember because I read about it recently. Although I'm pretty sure I remember when Beta and Alpha were the same price, and because you couldn't play Alpha,
exactly. Yep.
So nobody wanted it.
Exactly. They were actually cheaper. Sometimes they were cheaper in some instances.
Yeah, you could play Alpha if all you had was Alpha. Because otherwise they were considered marked cards because the corners are
they're more rounded. Yeah.
Because nobody had come out. So we had sleeves back then, but we had penny sleeves. They were clear on both sides, and it wasn't until, like 96 maybe?
Yeah, when they started, Ultra Pro started making them.
Yeah, hey, you know what? We could put opaque colors on the back. Just you can't see what the card is except for from the front. I mean, I think it totally changed the way people played. I mean, people bought sleeves in bulk instead of just racking and
it also changed
cards.
the availability of mint cards from that point on.
Back then, you weren't allowed to play with sleeves.
No, it was not. Yeah, you were not allowed.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, so that changed.
And if your card was wore out too much, you couldn't play with it. Your Black Lotus had too many fray on the edge. It's a marked card. You had to get a new one or borrow one from a buddy.
And I think that it also maybe impacted the longevity of the game because, I mean, Magic is paper game. Printers weren't high quality yet. Photocopiers still were more like a business machine.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, these days, people print out and make proxies. I mean, it's how you do like your deck tech.
You mean acquire cards perfectly legally from reputable dealerships like Puka Trade.
That's what we do.
We do not endorse proxies of any kind here at BAF Draft.
I'm not saying I endorse it. I'm just saying this exists.
It does exist. It's a dirty
dirty
underground
filthy
belly of Magic the Gathering.
So when I was a kid, what have we had? I guess, all right, I got in at Revised. The Dark was just phasing out. It was getting hard to find those packs. I played through 4th, played through Ice Age. Alliances came out. I think I maybe got 2 packs of Alliances. I didn't pull a...
Here, let's shut that door. I can hear somebody humming down the hall. It picked up on the mic.
I didn't pull... there was some power cards back then that are still... Like Force of Will is just a powerhouse. And it was an uncommon. No one... I mean, they still make mistakes, but I think back then the designers and the players didn't really understand card economy. They didn't really understand the value for a casting cost. And so things like the Elder Dragons were viewed like ridiculous. If you could slip them into play with like a Dinkus Egg or something, or reanimation.
Do you remember Fallen Empires?
Yeah, Fallen Empires was
Alliances,
available $1 a pack for like
and
4
Homelands,
years.
And Homelands. Those 3 were printed around the same time. They did outsourcing printing on those. If you notice, the quality of them is so crappy, and they feel thicker. Too. The stock on them is a little different.
Well, there's definitely variance from card to card in the shipments, but it was. I mean, back then there was like mystical cards that you didn't really believe existed because you only heard about them like Time Walk, or really it was like the Blue Hurricane. I think it was. It was
Blue
a
Hurricane.
misprint, Summer Magic.
Huh. I do remember back then. I will say this: when I stopped playing, I played from 95 till about 98. Even in 98. Seeing those old cards, like the Power 9 and stuff was still pretty rare. It wasn't even. I was in Orlando, and there was a lot of big shops. They weren't. It wasn't like all the old players had them. They're still pretty hard to get. That's why the price is so high on them.
I mean, at the time, that was one of the most interesting things of the game. Is that I mean now there's a volume of cards, and I'm. Are you? You gotta click a thing.
No, you're fine. I had the music from the last thing we recorded, so the last episode was about 30 minutes long or something, so actually about 45 minutes long, so
All right, so I'll just...
You didn't hear any of that.
I don't hear a thing.
Yeah, you just saw the thing pop up, or you saw us go like
Well,
this.
see, he can delete that track completely from
Yeah, I can go modify everything.
So
I go
cool.
through.
I am slightly concerned that it's going to be awful.
No, it'll turn out great.
Our podcasts are terrible. I mean, professional.
Okay, well, let me put this. I've got a mixer coming in, a 12 channel mixer to help get. And I finally, because if you listen to the podcast before, one ear you hear me talk. I fixed that on the last one. If you listen to the last one, it's not like that, and the same thing with this.
He doesn't listen to him anymore.
Okay, you don't?
Obviously, he doesn't.
Yeah.
I found the group. We're good. I don't need to. Yeah.
Oh man,
we talk plenty. I don't.
Well, no, they're pretty funny. You got to check out.
I will check them out.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Check out how painful the last one was.
The last one was painful.
This one will be pretty painful.
No, this is a good one.
This stuff is awesome.
Okay, so let me ask you. So you started around that time, and then you kind of stopped and started from there.
No, not. I wouldn't say it wasn't on and off. So it's the same kind of thing with like comics or whatever. You know, I didn't read comics all through college. I didn't read them through young adulthood. I didn't play Magic on and off in college. Sure, there was like one time a buddy and I happened to be at Borders, which is a bookstore that probably no longer exists.
No, they still exist.
Just entered a time portal into the past. Gonna go to Blockbuster next too?
Nah, that's a different age. Although they could have bought Redbox when they had the chance. They just didn't do it. Anyhow, so you know Homelands. I played Homelands and it was terrible.
Yeah,
there was only a few
bad.
things that actually made any sense. It seemed as a young player at the time, the newer sets were weaker than the older sets, and if you didn't already have the good cards, you weren't going to be able to play.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So you either wrote on a land, you know, to see what it would be like to play a Royal Assassin.
Oh,
you know what I mean? You take a swamp or a plains and you just write, "This is a Royal Assassin."
Royal Assassin, is that one black, one white, or one black, one colorless?
It was two black.
It was two black, one colorless, one rare.
Tap to kill a tap creature.
Yeah.
Because you remember
that was one of my favorite cards.
Remember the cards? I mean, and that was a powerful card. It's so slow for cards these days, but that was a powerful card back then. And then you get to Homelands and it was like, what's this? Oh, that's a dwarf. Okay, well, it costs 4. What's it do? It's a 1/2. But what's it do? It's a dwarf. Really? Like,
does it have Mountain Walk?
No.
Really?
I'm pretty sure. I mean, okay, I don't have like all the cards memorized, but that was the thing back then.
That was one of the worst sets ever made.
Oh, I mean, I've heard that it was really bad.
That and Fallen Empires were horrible. The only thing...
But I heard Fallen Empires was awesome. Didn't they add Legendary?
Fallen Empire... No, they didn't have Legends. It was Legends that had Legends.
Yeah, Fallen Empires, the only thing good out of Fallen Empires is Hymn to Torak.
Man, that Hymn to Torak is broken still. At the time, unless you were playing a discard deck, but there wasn't yet. But there's enough cards to actually build a full-on discard deck now. But back then, you basically had the 2 Spectres, the Mind Twist or whatever it was, X, casting cost. And you had Hymn to Torak.
Millstone, was that back then?
And well, that was a mill deck thing.
Yeah.
A Millstone mill deck. Like, that was the card that milled the deck. Now you've got like Grind and all kinds of... Was it that 1 blue card? It's something Scour. It costs 1 blue and 7 cards go into the...
Scour?
Yeah.
No, it's 1 blue and then you scour somebody or remove
Tomb
2
Scour.
cards.
That's for 5, isn't it? And then there's one for 1 blue and 1 colorless for 7.
Well,
Thought
Scour is an instant. You draw a card and then target player discards or puts 2 cards from the library into the graveyard.
And this is an old card you're talking about.
No, this is new.
This is a new one. Okay.
New. So what I'm saying is that there's like... Back then, there was like a card that did that thing.
Yeah.
Now, and then they did the functional reprints, which is fine because Ice Age was basically half functional reprints and half things that cost you all of your lands and your upkeep.
They introduced the Pain lands in Ice Age.
Yeah.
What's the one that had 3 different arts and 3 different flavor texts for every card?
That's gonna be Fallen Empires.
Fallen Empires. Okay.
Yeah, because you had 3 different Hymn to Toraks, so you had 3 of everything in there. And I want to say...
It might have been 4.
Yeah, it was multiple. And I want to say Homelands. Didn't they do that too?
Yeah. Yeah, well, they definitely had at least two. There was at least two arts for like every common. It might not have been so I use these words, not, every meaning every, but every meaning all the ones that I care to remember. Yeah. So, but it would, but not even it would be a common, but that one alternate art common would be on the rare sheet.
Yeah.
So it would be an uncommon. It was
like they
broken.
they designated numbers for them, like uncommon 1, 2, and 3, like based on the rarity per sheet they were printed. One of the hymn to Torax is worth more than the others because it was printed less by one of the artists.
Yeah. And then there's another one that's considered pretty, and I think that might be the one with the wolf on it. It gives you magic powers like the T-shirt and the neckbeard. Never mind.
So when was the first time you did a draft? Like, because I remember when Weatherlight and like Tempest and Mirage came out. That was the first time I had heard of that concept.
So Mirage came out, and Alliance was out, and they did some other things, and I was out.
Okay.
So that was like, there was a couple of powerful cards in Mirage. Phasing would be so broken if it did enter the battlefield effects, but. They had a couple of like Final Fortune or whatever, where you get an extra turn, but you lose the game if you don't win.
Yep, I remember that one. Yeah, Browbeat was back then too, wasn't it?
Was
it back then?
Could have been. There was another one that gave you another attack phase. Like they were doing stuff with sort of the rules of the game, other than just here's a turn, And it was interesting, but you still couldn't really. You couldn't really like sit down with a bunch of packs and know that you were going to be able to build a deck that was decent. Like you couldn't really do sealed. At least my friends and I couldn't.
Okay. I mean, I remember doing drafts then because you had Tempest. I want to say Tempest, Visions, Mirage. I can't remember the 3-block. That was when the first 3-block set came out. Because Ice Age was its own thing.
Yeah.
I think Alliances came out as its own thing.
It was supposed to be part of Ice Age.
Yeah, and because I remember they did Cold Snap later was supposed to be they didn't really have defined blocks. The
Cold
first
Snap
one was Weatherlight.
Back, but
yeah, I didn't like Cold Snap. I remember you were telling me that was your first one you got into. Period.
That was
right?
the first. Right after my deployment, right after my basic training, I came back and all of my friends had gotten into Magic, and Cold Snap had just come out, and so I bought a whole booster box of Cold Snap. Oh. I was balling so hard.
Yeah, they broke cumulative upkeep in Cold Snap, only because I've looked at the card. Oh, that's the other thing. You can look at card lists now. Back then, you couldn't really. You could have the price guide, but you didn't know what a thing did unless it had reached tribal lore levels. So,
yeah.
like, you knew what it was. Because you've heard of this card.
Yeah.
You've never seen a Black Lotus. You've only seen it printed in a magazine. You haven't even seen a proxy of it because that wasn't a thing.
And unless you had
Just
a list
like it's
of
not now.
Unless you had a list of what was rare or uncommon,
you didn't
know. They didn't put any of that on there. You didn't know how many cards were in the set.
Yeah. So my worst trade ever.
Oh yeah, you can guess. That was the days you could screw people over in trades.
It was the guy had a Fissure, and I had the Serendib Ifrit, which was that. It's not really a misprint. I mean, it was printed wrong. The green. Mm-hmm. It was printed in green. It was printed in blue, but it was blue, but it was printed in green. And it was a nothing card. 2/3 flying, caused you damage because it was a demon. I mean, a Ifrit, Dijin, whatever. Fissure.
Fissure's what is? I forget what it does. Is that one of those destroyed land
creature or enchantment or artifact or something like that. Anyhow, you can look it up. You have the internet, I'm sure. You're listening to the podcast.
We got the internet. We got the internets here.
Yeah. So, but I was like, wow, that's a really decent card, because at the time there wasn't a whole lot of multi-option removal. I mean, sure, you had disenchant, you could do an artifact or an enchantment, and then you had like all-powerful lightning bolt that you ping your friend for 3 on the first turn because you're too young to know to wait to use it on a good thing. It's the card I have. Look, I have a mountain lightning bolt.
It's cost efficient.
Yes, that's why they don't print it now. So that's the thing that's so weird. Like, some things they just don't do. They're like, oh, that's broken. Here, you can have 7 life for 1 white mana, but 3 damage for one red? No way. We're not doing that. Man, I still haven't answered your question.
When was your first draft? Don't say here. No, I'm just.
I don't know if computer counts.
Yeah.
Computer
Well,
draft.
was it online Magic?
No. It was on the.
I guess I don't understand the other Magic computer games,
Okay.
like the Planeswalker, Duels of the Planeswalker and stuff. They don't do drafting on there though, do they?
Not like.
Well, let me ask.
Not like real draft. So
Let me ask
I've
you.
played at a
Okay, go
local
ahead.
shop,
Yeah.
but it was like baby draft where you get like 2 packs. And you build a
Oh,
tiny
okay.
deck, you know?
So out here was technically okay, but you played before you came out here. You were doing 3-pack drafts and stuff like that, or
My buddies and I got together and we did a couple of drafts.
Okay.
And it was a mixed pack. It was just after the Innistrad cycle. I don't know what block. So we had like a Scars Mirrodin pack or Mirrodin Besiege. Whatever booster packs you could pick up for like $250.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? And then
And we've done that before.
Yeah,
and it was
draft,
mixed.
We did
Yeah.
just people bring a pack, and we had weird, just random stuff. So.
Oh yeah.
But it's hard to build.
I had Zendikar for that one.
Some sets blend in with other sets really well, but then you get something like Mirrodin block, and if you everything's artifact heavy, artifact focused, and if you unless you pull other artifacts, then or equipment or whatever, then you can't really.
That's why I like drafts, because regardless of even if there's a mix, everybody's on the same playing field for the most part and got the same kind of options to build. So, what's your favorite format? Sorry, I didn't mean. That's one of my big questions. What's your favorite format?
I don't know. It's nice to just have other people to play against. I mean, compared to when I first started playing, it was like the 2 people I knew that played.
Yeah.
Small town, middle of nowhere. Actually, just west of middle of nowhere.
So when I say like format, I mean like, do you like, standard constructed, just whatever constructed, draft sealed, which would be limited, or like odd stuff like Commander or anything like out of those?
I don't know.
Or you like I guess it sounds more like you're a chameleon. You just want to play what other people are playing.
I
You just want to get together with a bunch of people and play.
It's fun.
Yeah.
It passes the time, especially out here when there's
Yeah.
every day's the same and we got something to do. It's decent fun. But I mean, of the things, I think the pass the pack draft.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool because you don't get stuck just whatever you pulled. Everybody sees almost the same thing. Everyone gets the same chance at a rare. The only thing I think I might like better than that is somewhere between. I wouldn't even know the right name for it because I haven't been playing recently long enough because they've changed all the names of stuff. Like it used to be Type 1 and Type 2 and Type 2.5.
Yeah.
Restricted and advanced.
Well, now
and that's all there was.
It's standard, modern, legacy, vintage.
Yeah, so for me, because I don't want to buy a ton of cards, to be viable to play with other folks.
Yeah.
I also don't want to outspend any of the folks back home I would play with. And because what good is a casual deck that wins on turn 2?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're not playing, no one wants to play if you're, winning every single time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
So I prefer, the thing I prefer most about the game at this point is number one, it reminds me of when I was younger. So that's really nice. So when life is the way it is when you're in your 30s and older, people just things go wrong.
Do you have a nostalgia sound effect to go with this?
I'm gonna add the nostalgia sound effect now. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I added in.
Better than the last one. My wife did complain. She did not.
What?
Like
You
the
don't like
last
the
sound
harmonica?
effect. She did not like.
It was for
that
goofy
whatever that noise
goofiness. It was a
was.
spoiler one, and it's got this harmonica little thing on there.
Interesting.
I go in and
curious to
add.
see how this turns out. So yeah, so I like the fact that when I needed, it's a good distraction. You know what I mean? You get together with friends. You're not. It might be cheaper than bowling. I don't know. I don't bowl often enough. But
Bowling's very expensive. Magic is way cheaper than bowling. If you're playing...
But if you're buying a case every set...
Well,
then
not a case. I'm saying
you know
if you're
what I
going to
mean?
go draft every week at your local store, it's cheaper than bowling.
So when I get back, I'll probably get a box and like 6 of us will get together and we'll do a draft.
Yeah.
I will say, though, the cube was a lot of fun. And I don't know if it would be cube draft, but like prepared... I guess it's cube, but it's not like
You can make your own
comic
cube.
shop. I was in a comic shop in the middle of Oklahoma, and they had like just a bunch of random stuff.
That's a
in
cube.
Packs. It was basically cube. You know what I mean, but it wasn't. I mean, I guess it was
You can
just
make a
stuff that
popper
people
cube.
opened.
You know, just commons and uncommons. Throw a few rares in there, balance it out.
That would not be a pauper cube then.
Well, okay.
See,
commons, uncommons.
So
okay.
that's one of the things I like about the non-Magic Online electronic formats is like there's implied utility in if it's a common you can have 4 of, if it's an uncommon you can have 3 of, if it's a rare you can have 2 of, if it's a mythic you only have 1. And I like that better than because it adds consistency play after play to the deck, so you can.
Now
like,
what is this that you're playing?
That's
online?
duels. That's duels. It's on my phone.
Okay.
All right, Duels of the
It's also on
Planeswalker.
Steam.
They've come out with one every year for the past 3 or 4 years.
Except
5
this
or
year, I
6.
don't think they gave it to us on Android. They gave it to the iPhone people, but they didn't give it to Android.
Yeah, I've never played that ever.
It's
I'm gonna have to try it out.
It's limited, but all the mechanics are there.
It's just something
Almost
fun
all
to
the
do if you're by
mechanics.
yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So.
you know, you would.
To me, I found it made me more angry than anything else because it just made me miss playing real Magic so much that I was just I'd get more upset
So,
at it.
what do you consider real Magic?
Person
anything
at the
with
table
another
with a
person,
physical
yeah.
person. Yeah.
It was a close enough facsimile. Is that the word?
Yeah, that would
big
be
words.
correct.
It was a close enough facsimile that it made me frustrated that I was missing the real thing.
So the thing, it's funny. Real table with real people is great, but the thing that's really, for at least constructed, you don't all have access to the same cards. You could if you all had the same pockets and wanted to spend the same.
Well, that's
money.
why I like limited, which would be sealed in draft,
But-
because everybody's on the same playing field. People, I think, at least in that format, learn, and it's great for new players. You know.
Well, we used to have a community out here that we were really heavy into standard for a
Yeah,
while.
for a good while.
And what we'd find is that people would draft, and then they'd take their draft decks and slowly convert them into standard decks. And yeah, you had decks that were underpowered, but after drafting for a month of drafting, you had enough stuff that you could trade for the more powerful stuff, and you didn't even have to spend money. You could just trade up.
So you're not quite where I like want to be with Magic. What I'd like is to be able to play like modern, not necessarily standard, you know what I mean, but definitely modern, but with all of the like vintage cards that I have. So I don't want to play vintage because of the Power 9 and all that other stuff. So, but like clone,
Then you want legacy.
counterspell.
You want kitchen table Magic.
Yeah.
But so I want to bring my old cards sleeved to a modern tournament mixed with some modern, you know what I mean? Like just I haven't built it, but I would like to get to the point where I can build a deck that is decently competitive. It's not dominating, but it doesn't lose all the time. Maybe 60-70% win rate would be fine.
That'd be pretty much a legacy deck because it has no Power 9 in it,
But
it's still got all the other old stuff.
But you could easily not sideboard because that's a loaded term, but effectively sideboard in and out cards to morph your deck from vintage playable, just have fun, to maybe standard if you swap, this stuff out and this stuff in. Now I know standard.
Well, we talked to a guy a couple of podcasts ago, and he kind of talked about how players kind of evolve. As when we were talking to Rob, from like they'll go standard, and then standard will cycle out a few times, and eventually you got all these old cards, and you're into modern. And then if you did have old stuff, like people sometimes transition to that. Usually, legacy is as far as they go because if they don't have the Power 9, they're not going to go into vintage to spend that kind of money.
So, Ike, what it sounds like you described, you want a format where you can play with your old cards. And it doesn't have to be super competitive, but you want to win sometimes and have a good time with people. So let me tell you about an awesome format called Commander. Now, the only catch with Commander is that it has to be a singleton deck.
Yeah.
But you still get to play with all the old flavor, all the old cards, and it is casual. Well, it's casual the way most people play.
100 cards is too many cards.
100 cards is not too many cards. Technically, it's only 99.
Yeah, it's not 100, it's 99.
Yeah, it's 99.
You always got the one in your hand, technically.
Yeah, well, and then if you're looking at, your land set, you're looking at, 37, 38, 39 land. So you only need 42 actual individual cards. That is super easy to do. You can take your cool old stuff, your cool new
Junk
stuff.
rares become very valuable then. Okay, so we're going to have to wrap this up soon because we're kind of going long. But, pack one, pick one. Out of what we've already discussed.
You already pulled the token. I can't pick the token.
Oh, no.
you can't
It gets
pick the
down.
token or the
Lamb
land.
will go in there.
No, you can't pick the basic island either.
That's because
The
it's
full art
yours and
island.
you're trading it.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right. So
What would
I
your
was
pack
looking at
one,
earlier.
pick one be? Yeah.
So this particular pack doesn't actually work very well.
But you have to pick
You have to
one
pick
because you're in
one.
a draft right now.
So
you know?
but it's pack one, right? So I mean,
Pack one, pick one of the draft.
I'm relatively new at draft. You know what I mean? It's not like I've played a long time.
He only got second place last night.
Only.
So you got this rare here, which is apparently Dust Stalker. You can Google it. If you click right here, no, it won't link you to Wizards. Sorry. And then you got Rolling Thunder. So to me, obviously, this pack says that I'm probably gonna go red, maybe red and black. I think that. I don't know. This one's tough. I think the Dust Stalker, because I'm an old player, so when I look at the casting cost to what this card does, I would probably go with the Dust Stalker because I think it's more efficient than Rolling Thunder.
So I take it Rolling Thunder was like your second.
Yeah, Rolling Thunder would be my
Okay.
second, but I don't think it would be there when a pack came back.
No,
around.
it would definitely not be.
That was our first pick was Rolling Thunder. So
Rolling Thunder was. So my question for you is when you go to a draft, when you sit down at the draft table to start, and you open up a 2-color rare, do you then force those 2 colors? Like, do you find the best, or are you willing to be flexible and just be like, you know what, screw it, I can't play either of these 2 colors. Here's an awesome blue card down. I'm gonna take that instead.
I don't know. That'd be really awesome. I mean, if I already spent one whole round pulling red and black.
No, I'm
To pivot
talking
to
your
blue.
first pick. Can you pass your? Because I know there's players in our group that basically their first pick locks them into whatever colors they are, and they're just gonna plow ahead forward.
No, you don't. You can't. I think that you kind of know what colors you like to play as a player. I think there's very few players that are actually comfortable in the color role for all of the colors. I think you've got players that play control, and then you've got players that play aggro. And then if your aggro player plays control, he's not going to do very well. And if your control player finds himself going first, you know what I mean? It's not going to end consistently for them. So no, I think you just kind of you know your own personal tendencies. So if you're a green Timmy player and you sit down to pull Zendikar here, you're gonna have a bad day.
okay, guys, this is a pretty long one, so I got a lot of editing to do. A lot of editing.
Yes, please. Edit all the parts out with this voice.
But with that voice, no, you're
No, it was awesome.
you were a filler, man.
Well, see, I was thinking, maybe you do like a part 1, part 2, and I get to sleep in next week.
Sleep in next week.
Like we take it into 2 parts. We have the boring parts where it's just you and me talking, and then we have the story time with Ike.
I can cut it down small
I didn't
and
even
do
get
that.
the parts with the Guru Lands. I was kind of hoping to put those in there.
The Guru Lands.
Guru Lands, man.
What are Guru Lands?
You serious?
Yeah. What's a Guru Land?
The awesome art Guru Lands.
All right.
Are you talking about the expeditions?
No.
You talking about the full art land?
Oh my
No.
word.
What is a Guru Land?
All right,
Please
so
explain
you
to
want
me.
to stop recording, or do you want to keep
No,
going?
No,
let's
we're
keep
gonna
going
recording.
because-
This is info.
Okay.
I'm
So,
gonna do
hold
what
on,
he
hold-
said and make this into 2 podcasts.
Hold on. So first off, let me just say that these things are so phenomenal that like okay.
It's an island.
No, the full set of them. Oh my word, they are the most beautiful.
Is this a
basic
new thing?
land. Oh.
No, so okay. You remember you asked
Oh
me when I
my
started
gosh.
playing, and I told
Okay.
you back in '94,
Yeah.
and I gave you the whole or '95.
Yeah.
I mean, I could regale you with stories of walking into this bookstore in the middle of some strip mall and seeing magic cards on the counter and thinking that, hey, magic cards. Hey, I like to do magic tricks for my family because I'm a goofy teenager. I legit thought it was a deck of cards where each card would teach you a different magic trick. Honest to goodness. And then when I got it home and opened it, I'm like, Brain Geyser? What is this? Like, I can guarantee you that was the first rare magic, it was a revised Brain Geyser that I ever opened. Plus, there was a couple of lands in there because that's how they did you back then. That's how you got lands.
Yeah.
And cracked booster packs. Also, the booster packs were see-through, and people would usually look.
Oh yeah,
and
when
see
he
what the
says
lands were.
see-through, they were basically like semi-opaque.
Yeah, they weren't foil mylar like the current.
Yeah, if you held it real close to the card, you could see what's on there.
Yeah, but as a kid, you didn't realize people were always trying to steal your money, so you just kind of.
Oh yeah, you had owners going through boxes. And,
yeah, so like the vast majority of my revised rares were laces, chaos lace, pure lace. So I played Magic with my buddies for a while. One guy always folded or conceded.
Mm-hmm.
You'd get like to turn 3, he'd have an Iron Claw or Brass Claw Orcs out, and you'd have like 2 things, like a regenerating Drudge Skeleton, and he'd just look at the table and be like, I fold, and he'd concede. So we stopped playing with him unless we played for ante, because it was the only way to keep him from conceding.
Yeah.
Because back then you played for ante. Then I stopped playing, drove a car for a while, and I got to college. When I was in college, Magic initiated what they called the Guru program. And I just realized I'd pigeoned my date hole. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so this is in 1999. Is these cards you're showing me?
Yeah. So with Guru program, you basically taught other people to play, and you got Guru points, and you mailed away your Guru points, and then after you got so many points, they would send you these lands. So I joined the program, and then like 2 months later, they canceled the program. So as a consolation prize, they sent me 3 of these lands.
Mm-hmm.
I had taught many people to play over the years. Not all of them still play. And the rules back then were different. There wasn't a stack and yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
So it got really kind of contentious sometimes. Well, I attack. Well, I shoot you. Well, then I don't attack. And you're like, what do you mean? You just said you attack. Well, too bad I didn't. You know what I mean? Okay, well, then I didn't blast you with the lightning bolt then. Well, then I attack. Seriously? It's how
That's
it was.
why they
when we were
made the
teenagers.
stack.
All right, so I got these Guru lands, and I thought that was kind of cool. But at the time, they were just lands. Like, oh, great, you got an island. Or, oh, great, you got a mountain.
Mm-hmm.
Yay, you. We didn't realize, I don't think, how rare they were.
Okay.
They were lands. Lands cost 10
So
cents.
I take it this program didn't last very long at all. So there were very few.
Maybe a year.
Okay.
I don't know how many they printed.
So here's the big question: how much are they worth?
The Guru Island's like $300.
Oh my gosh!
There's a couple of misprint versions of it too, where like
I'm about to get on Puka and look this up.
Foil symbols upside down. They call it the Drowning Man Island. So I have 3, and I'm interested in completing the set, but they're crazy expensive.
Okay, so we're on TCG Player, and the low price is $263.99.
Yeah,
oh my gosh!
So they average
the
like a
artwork's
7 to 11% increase per year.
Oh my gosh!
That particular card, if you track its price, that's a better investment than the stock market. Not that I suggest investing in Magic cards, but if you do, you should probably do fat packs because they're low price and barrier to entry is low for somebody who wants to buy your overpriced fat pack from you in a year's time. So then it was those, and then I kind of went on about my business and tried to get a job and got married, and then I had kids, and then life happens, and then you start looking for things to waste your time with, and that's when I started playing Magic again with some buddies.
Okay.
So, but I did not play during the time when Infinite Combo was now suddenly a thing, right? So I don't know. It was like one of those sets that had all the colors in it, probably like a Laura or something like that. You know what I mean?
Shards of Laura.
Yeah, just
Conflux.
cards that I look at as like a revised player, and I consider myself a revised player, because that's just those are the bulk of the cards that I knew in Chronicles. And it's just kind of like I look at those cards that came out in the time I didn't play, and I'm like, they broke Magic. Like, this is like the power creep is just ridiculous. And Innistrad with the scary monsters flavor, I thought was really cool.
That was the werewolves and the vampires.
Mm-hmm. The trouble was packs of Innistrad, because of having such good staple cards in it, along with the flavor, they're just too expensive.
Yeah, now
and I got in at
expensive.
the tail end, re-entered the game at the tail end of that.
Okay.
So I missed out on.
Well, hey, Innistrad's coming out again after Oath of Gatewatch. It's another Innistrad theme. So.
Yeah, I guess I'm also cynical when it comes to the business moves they make. So like when I was a kid, I thought for sure that they were just trying to drive up the price of the secondary market by releasing crappier and crappier cards. You know what I mean? And so, like, what's the next set going to be? Tap this land, it does 7 damage to you and takes 3 mana out of your mana pool? Like,
I guess I don't overthink some of the stuff on that. Well, that's why I like Puka Trade. Puka Trade.
Man, you really are Puka pushers.
I'm a big, and I was listening to Brainstorm Brewery, I think is when I listened to an episode, and they were talking with the reps from them, and then I was like, what is this? And I went on, checked it out, and it took me a while. I was kind of the guinea pig on the base here, and I did it. Talked a lot of people into doing it, man, and I'm happy with it. I mean, that's how I get all that stuff right here that I showed you. Or I didn't show you this. This stuff I got in the mail today.
Yeah, so I think Puka Trade makes a lot of sense because you get guys that have cards that they don't want, and they have cards that they do want, and it's really hard to make trades with folks that live in like, you know, Nevada.
Yeah.
And you live in.
And you're not making a
Afghanistan.
trade with somebody directly. That's what's great about it.
So it's a good bartering system. I mean, the other alternative is what? To attempt to sell a single on eBay or Amazon. And
there are other trade sites where you can initiate direct trades, but those go bad a lot. So
yeah, but you know, that's the whole deal with money, right? I mean, it's just supposed to be Puka points. It's not money, but
correct.
The whole idea is that you have a fungible resource that you can barter with.
Yep.
Like money, fiat currency. So, I think that my interest in Puka Trade has been piqued, and I'll probably try and get rid of a lot of things in order to get some of those revised cards that I missed out of.
Yeah.
You know, Alpha, Beta, and Unlimited are awesome, but
I've gotten lands and stuff like that from Puka, like old stuff. I just like getting them. You know what I mean? Like I'm trying to get the dark set. Just because it's just for nostalgia reasons, that's it, you know?
Yeah, the dark, Fallen Empires.
Ugh, Fallen Empires so ugly. So ugly, man.
I mean,
all those
flavor,
ballads and goblins
the
and stuff.
flavor, I mean, well, that was really one of your first strongly tribal sets, I think.
See, I liked the Dark Arabian Nights, Antiquities, you know, Legends. I love those, the Black Border stuff, the old original Black Border. I love anything revised and unlimited. I just like looking at it and holding them. I just like a beta land or an alpha land. It's just cool, you know.
Yeah.
That's just more a nostalgia thing and just have it, you know.
You know what else is cool?
What?
Guru Land.
Yeah. Okay, guys, that's gonna be a wrap. So
is this the actual wrap, or
this
are we gonna like talk for like 10 more minutes?
Nah, man, this is the actual wrap.
You got a place to be?
I don't have it.
Well, it's getting later, and I still got to get online and chat with the family and stuff. And this is a lot of editing.
He's got Puka Trades he wants to try and get.
Yeah, now I got Puka
Trade
stuff.
Some Puka Trades. That's
okay. Well, I guess we'll see you.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you for coming, Ike.
I'm out the door.
Yeah. And we'll see you guys again on the next episode of BAF Draft. Until next week, I'm Gary Wilkinson.
I'm Matt Zerby.
And
I'm not going to be here.
Yeah. Okay. Have a good week.
Play the intro. Here, listen to this. You gotta.
Hang on. You want me to add the intro to it?
Yeah, add the intro.
Hang on a second.
Do like a special edition.
Wait, is this what I actually sound like?
Yeah, that's what you sound like.
I sound stoned.
Hey, man.
A little bit, yeah.
It's all right. Cool. It's all right. This is my dad voice.
No, this is a cool voice.
Well, okay, so what were we talking about? He won't want to listen to the intro because when he hears it on there, it sounds weird. You've heard the intro?
Yeah, if it was in the first one.
Yes, same one.
I heard the intro.
Yeah,
okay.
I had to listen to it. I was like, "Is this the right place?" And then an airplane. You heard that story,
right? Right.
Just rewind it. You listen again.
We don't do any rewind. We just
no rewind. Yeah, it's just.
And we add some of this stuff on here too.
Oh yeah, this is this is what the listeners want to hear.
They want to hear raw
goofiness.
So
yeah,
that's the thing, right? So we're here in the middle of we don't want you here, Stan, and it's just how it is,
right?
But the thing about the plan here is it's a bunch of folks, we would never know each other if we didn't like to play Magic.
Correct.
Which is sort of the opposite of, for some people, what it was like to play Magic back in the 90s, where it was like, why do you play that game? You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing? But the thing about Magic, at least for me, is there's so many cards, you can't possibly know what they all are unless you're Mensa. Whereas when I was a kid, there's so many cards you had just never, you didn't see them. They weren't written down somewhere. But here there's so many players. Now we don't have a ton of players that play, but the rotations, because you constantly have new folks that have to find the group, and you have folks that have been here for a while trying to maintain consistency with the group and maintain the momentum for folks to come and play. It's sort of like, it's a lot like the fact that there's all these different play styles and different card combinations that you could do. There's all these different players and different groups of players and the way they interact with each other. And I just think it's kind of neat that there's a community here that we don't approach the game the same at all. I mean, like even in the most second most recent draft, I mean, you had one guy that was like, well, I just wanted to attack with little creatures and get in all the combat tricks, and that's my deal. And then you got other folks who are like, well, I'm just going to counter everything you put out there, so that's just how it's going to be. You know what I mean? And it's like, here's a big creature, I'm coming over, deal with it. And it's all the play styles, but then you got all the personalities, and you got some folks that are super laid back. You got some folks that are laid back until like they reach a point and then they're just done. You know what I mean? And you don't want to cross that line with them. And you got other folks that are hard to read, and either they're soldiers or they're civilians or they're contractors. I mean, everyone is different, and their approach to the game and their approach to interacting with other people is different. And it's neat to be a part of that.
That's
to be
awesome.
a part of that. So
Okay,
thanks, guys.
Oh, now I got a question for you.
Okay.
What could we do at BAF Draft to better accommodate newer players? As a person who just basically, and it was awesome because you threw yourself in. You threw yourself into our community, and it was great.
Yeah, I'm the most extroverted introvert there is. You know what I mean? I look at other people's shoes.
So what?
Not because I like
do?
shoes. I'm just saying. I'm
Bjorn's.
the rocks out here will tear your boots up. It's just the way it is. So I'm a solo kind of guy. I'm just saying.
So what can we do as a community to help better? I mean, obviously, not harassing people on Facebook is probably one of the ways we can better.
No, I thought that was good. I'm not sure I would have gone if it would have been like, yeah, come on over.
Oh, okay. So it was the keeping you out part, the interrogation.
No, I don't think. No, that was over here. There is a constant. You just gotta be aware of what's going on around you. You know what I mean? So like we get together and we play, and you kind of forget about all that for a while.
You didn't know who you were talking to on there, basically.
No
That's
idea.
What it was, so.
No idea. It could have been a test. Like, oh, who's this guy? Is he going to get on here and say stuff? And
yeah,
then we got to send him home. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
You never know. Everything's a test. So to get new, I mean, when you say make it better for the players? I mean, that's how I hear you ask your question.
Well, how can we make our community more open,
more noticed, more available, more
I don't know. That's
accommodating.
Yes, accommodating. I like that word.
Okay. Making the group accommodating, I think it's fine. But I mean, the context is, it's Magic the Gathering, and that comes with, for better or for worse, a certain layer of. Presuppositions from people that are not players.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So, like for me, there was some guys that were like, "What you're really gonna skip out on playing beanbag toss with us?" They don't call it that, but I call it that.
Cornhole.
Let's face it. It's bags if you're from the middle. of the
okay.
country.
We call
bags.
it some perverted name, cornhole.
Cornhole's what it is, like everywhere else I've ever been. But no.
You ever played cornhole, Matt? You look lost there.
I looked lost at having thought it had a name. I thought it was just the thing you do
Nah,
at
man,
Halloween to get candy.
Mm-mm.
Like at Halloween parties, you go to the Halloween party and they're doing the thing like.
And it's hardcore now, man. They got like football teams on them and just all whatever weirdness you want, like custom made ones. But anyways,
yeah. so anyhow, it's horseshoes without like the danger of impaling someone with a horseshoe. Actually, it's horseshoes that you could take to a tailgate.
So it's horseshoes without the fun.
It's beanbag toss.
Yeah, it's beanbag toss
with points. You score points in the other team.
Well,
it's just like sports. You need to score more sports points than the other team.
Right. No, I trust me. I mean, we're a Magic the Gathering podcast, so right. I know about stupid hobbies.
Okay, so The general comment when I was like, where were you the other night? We were playing beanbag toss. That's my words. And I'm like, well, I was playing cards. And they're like, oh, was it the Hold'em tournament? I'm like, no, that was going on. I played another kind of cards. And they're like, what? I said, Magic the Gathering. And they're like, what? You skipped out on beanbags to play Magic the Gathering? I'm like, you know what that is? And they're like, what's that nerd game? I'm like, yeah. They're like, you should have been playing poker. I'm like, well, poker's okay, but the cards don't really interact with each other. It's not, and he's like, yeah, but I don't know. So I had an interesting conversation with someone who clearly did not appreciate the complexities of this particular card game that we like to play. I said it's a lot like poker in that, you have your resources, the lands, and if you kind of bluff your way in some situations. If you're playing blue, you leave some islands untapped to keep the other person guessing. If you're gonna, if you're playing white, you leave some planes untapped and hit them with a stasis or destroy target attacking creature. You know what I mean? Like it's just but you have to get to that mid-tier level at least before you even start to pick up on those cues from other players. You know what I mean? So,
right.
Like, if you're brand new, and the other person's got 2 islands untapped, and you're playing Vintage, you may not know that there's this card that costs 2 blue, and it's a counterspell. And, you'll just play your awesome thing, and then it's gone. Whereas if you're a more experienced player, or even more experienced player, you start playing the person instead of playing the cards, especially like the second or third time in the round.
Yeah.
You know what's coming, and you almost have to telegraph things to keep the other person, in the meta. You're a control player. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Whereas if you're an advanced Timmy, I think it's the Timmy that likes the big creatures. Maybe that's the Johnny. Timmy, Johnny, Spike.
Yeah, Timmy, Johnny, Spike.
All right. So whichever one likes the big green 8/8 trample.
If I'm not mistaken, it's Johnny, and Timmy likes to hear somebody say that card's terrible, and then they make a deck, around that card. I think that's how it is.
Is that the one?
I think so. So I think Johnny's the one with the
So what am I?
You're just a bad player. That's
Oh my god.
Burn cream. So
you're a host. You're the host of the podcast.
That's all I am. Okay.
So I get the names backwards, but you get the idea. So the kid that likes, or I say kid, the kid that sees that big, massive Eldrazi, and they're like, man, I just want to get this into play.
Yeah.
Just get it, but once that hits the deck, I don't even have to attack with it. I'm just happy that I got it on the table. Well, when you get into the later stages of that life cycle, you start leading with the creature that you hope the other person takes out while you know what I mean? Instead of getting your bomb on the table as early as possible, you put out it's basically a meat shield, to try and draw the counterspell out or draw the stasis field out or whatever it is.
Get the trade in card for card early with all the weak stuff, and or the stuff they assume might be your mid-range good cards. And
yeah. If you pull decent cards in the draft, you could drop a bomb and actually be holding a bigger bomb.
Or you got to discard 2 cards when you have 2 cards in your hand. You're about to drop the bomb that Matt likes to do to me, especially last night.
Let's take a pause real quick. Nope, you are correct. Timmy is the guy who likes to play the big giant things. Johnny is the guy who likes to do the crazy, unique, weird things. And Spike's the guy who just wants to win.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so Timmy, Johnny, Spike.
I consider myself a Johnny, but not like weird, like so weird.
You're more like a rebel Johnny. You purposely go out of your way to do things that you know you shouldn't be doing.
But I'm gonna if I can do it one time.
Yeah, that's Johnny.
So yeah, you play 5 games, and if you get your combo to work one time, you are happy. Right?
That's me. That's me.
As you play, I'm not saying you're not there yet. You might already be there. So a Johnny Spike, that's how you get like Mana Bloom or whatever, Amulet Bloom. You know what I mean? Like it's broke. Everyone knows it's broke, but it wins, so you don't care, so you play it. You know what I mean? Or you've got like a Johnny Timmy who has got these awesome combos purely to get their big beefy creature on the table, just to say, look, boom, Leviathan, Merit Lage.
My style of playing and building decks depends on the format I'm in too. When I'm doing Commander, I really, and I'm learning, talking to Matt and learning. I like to do just the weird stuff, or just stall stuff, or just oddball crap.
You're also very greedy, too. You like to do everything. You want to do everything.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but you just like to
I can find a way to do everything.
Okay. All right. I mean, yeah, why not, right? It's 100 cards. You might as well.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, no.
It's too many cards.
That's not
It's not consistent.
It's shockingly not too many cards. You have no idea how shockingly not. And it's a game that you play while drinking a beer.
So how does the deck, I mean, because obviously I don't play Commander. I could have, right? Because I played Chronicles, so Elder Dragon, Legend, Highlander, or whatever it was called back then, I obviously could have played. In fact, I was a Boy Scout.
There you go.
What?
Yeah, Boy Scout.
Boy Scout.
Yeah.
Elder Dragon Legends. That's
Boy Scouts.
Boy Scouts.
Well, it's Alaska. Highlander came from
Scotland.
Alaska.
These
Man,
are the jokes.
you
They're
guys
the only ones
are,
I came with. I'm sorry for all the dead air. He's
I
done
don't
with
get
the
it.
podcast.
I don't get it.
What don't you get?
Okay,
There can only be one joke?
Oh. I get the Highlander
All
thing.
right.
Okay, I get that. But
That's for that one person out there that likes that.
I didn't get the whole Boy Scout thing.
Oh. Okay. My understanding was that some folks, like maybe I'm off.
It was in Alaska.
I was under the long-lived impression that like the Commander style came out of some judges, and also it came through Boy Scouts pretty rapidly. I think because we got the national jamborees and things like that. So ideas, just like sicknesses, is you know what I mean. In an era when there wasn't internet to make things spread rapidly, you had people getting together and teaching other people different play styles.
See, I thought
which could be true. I mean, it could be. I know for a fact that Highlander came out of the Elder Dragons came out of Alaska. The Alaska judges were the ones who really pushed it, and they just introduced it to people, and from there, like you said, a virus, it spread. Now they could have been also having been Boy Scouts because judging does not pay.
I don't know.
Well,
so
and Boy Scouts does.
No. only if you're in management. So that is a stack of cards.
Yes, it is.
You've never played Commander? Oh my word! See,
No,
now,
I just.
Now we're gonna talk about Commander in this podcast too, like an introduction to Commander.
And I didn't even tell you my Boy Scout story because I know it's a bad. Because you don't want to talk about D&D, right? We want to talk about Magic.
Man, we're talking about Magic.
Right,
This is
so
Magic.
I played Magic in Boy Scouts. And that's,
Okay.
You know what I mean? And so you'd get like your Fallen Empire's land, where you leave it tapped, and it just sort of builds mana every turn, and then you just your win condition was Massive Fireball, turn 12, like that was it.
And Channel.
That's what you had. Channel was a rare.
Channel Fireball.
None of us had rares except for my one buddy who bought a binder off of some kid for $50 that had every rare and revised in it.
My son was in
dual
Boy.
lands.
He was in Boy Scouts for a while, and we did that was he would do Magic. What was the other thing? Pokemon. I didn't let him play anymore because he got a bunch of cards stolen one time. We went out.
Jeez.
Yeah, that's trustworthy.
Yeah.
But I mean that happened a lot.
So you say Commander's too many cards. You have to understand that this is a format. Basically, this is a format where you're basically taking artifact rocks to basically accelerate your bigger spells, your flashier spells. So since you're playing as 4 players, you don't play 1-on-1. Commander's not designed to be played 1-on-1. You play 4 players, right. And so if you miss a land drop, it's not the end of the world. If you miss a turn 4 play, it's not the end of the world.
Okay, I can see. It's like a lot of things. I can see how someone would enjoy playing that, but I guess for me, when I played when I was a kid, I wasn't that good, and the game was effectively take all of your favorite cards and put them in one pile and figure out how much land you needed in order to try to play some of those.
Yeah, it's Commander.
And we only had like one of a good card between the 4 of us, if we were lucky. You know what I mean? So they're just it reminds me too much of the annoyances of playing back when they're, you know what I mean? So I guess I'm more interested in a pauper deck that is super consistent with 4 these different commons in it. then I would it's just me. That's
to each his own flavor,
I
right?
think the intro, the level at which you'd need, the amount of money you'd need to make a competitive deck would make you not want to anymore.
competitive pauper deck.
Well, competitive pauper, competitive any type of actual competitive deck.
These are pretty cheap to put together, especially because a lot of the good cards that are in the Commander.
What did he describe earlier? Saying how he wanted to run modern styled cards. Where
That's
you could
Commander.
Just throw vintage in there.
That's Commander.
That is Commander.
Because you can put dual lands in here. You can. I mean, there's so much. It's basically Legacy. Singleton Legacy. So you don't have to have play sets of these expensive cards.
But
and then a lot of them are banned. So.
But you're also playing with 4 people, so all the weight's not on your shoulders.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So you
very
can
political game.
You can run you can run worse cards and still stay competitive with what's going on. You can run worse cards and win because you just have to wait till player A and player B kill each other.
You don't want to be
top.
the guy with the target on your back right away because that's the worst thing you can do in Commander.
So I would have a hard time playing Commander because the Commander deck that I would build, given Return to Ravnica, would be that it was a horror or some blue black creature, power and toughness of all the cards in every graveyard or something like that, and every time you play a spell, all of your opponents grind until they find a land. You know what I'm talking about? Like,
yeah. Well,
just
you
no
couldn't
one
play
would
him as
like.
your commander. You couldn't play him as your commander because it has to be a legendary creature.
Okay, I'm not saying as your commander.
Okay, just in your deck.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd play a mill deck. You know there are mill commander decks.
Right.
You gotta be careful for the Eldrazi. The ones that when they enter the graveyard, as soon as they enter the graveyard, the whole graveyard and it gets shuffled back into the. And then it just makes it.
Just that one person's though.
Right,
I mean, like I'm running one in mine right now. I mean, I have more.
Well, see, and the thing is he doesn't need. What he's saying is he doesn't care if one of the 4 players gets all their cards.
That's true.
He's still hitting you with a 50-50.
That's true.
So there's a difference, right, between the cards that I'm really more aware of and all of the cards that there are, right? So when I see a card that says every opponent, that's like a new thing to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because before it was always like target opponent, or you know what I mean, or target play. You know what I mean? It just always was. I mean, there's not a whole lot of stuff in my memory that affected everybody, and you know what I mean. So it's just like the idea of really making everyone at the table mad at you. It's just really funny. Well, it's pretty funny.
The thing is that when you look at Commander, what makes it great is that you don't need to be playing these super. You don't need to know every card in the deck. That is not a thing that needs to happen. You can just go, wait, these are my favorite cards. You say you want to run a mill strategy. That is a thing you can do in draft now or in Commander. Yeah, you probably won't win every game, but hey, it's a 4-player game. Nobody's gonna win every game. That's the fun part about it.
Yeah, it's.
So what are you known for? I'm known for coming in second place in Commander every time, right? No, I'm just not me. I'm just saying like you could totally do that where all you do is run a discard deck.
I don't know, man.
No, there are people who I had a Commander deck that I was building for a long time that did nothing but support every other player. So the goal of the deck was just to make the game last as long as humanly possible, so everybody else quit. Like that was the point of this deck.
No one wants to play it.
This is my favorite combo in this deck. Like just anything with protect. This I love this card. I don't know.
He's showing off
Celestial Mantle.
Celestial Mantle, which is it gives your creature +3/+3. If you do damage to an opponent, you double your life. And then
unless someone steals a creature.
And then this Tessa, who has a Tessa, Envoy of Ghost, the legendary creature protects from creatures, and whenever a person does damage to you, they sacrifice that creature's destroyed, and I get a little flyer in its place. I don't know, I like it. It's fun. It's fun.
Well, that's the thing is you get to make these goofy combos, but you get to run with the cards that are your favorite, like old cards that you really like to run.
Clone.
Well, no, I've seen Commander decks out there where basically they take every clone or clone effect or clone, and they throw it into their deck, and they just try and that's what they find fun at.
Okay, man, I think we have. I'm getting hungry, and I'm gonna have to stop by Subway.
Oh my!
It's open 24 hours a day. Only place you can go eat 24 hours a day.
It doesn't taste any better at any of those hours.
No,
except for when you're hungry.
Yeah.
Except for when you're hungry.
It's about the only thing that's good about. Yeah, man, BAF World Problems.
Yep, BAF World Problems.
All right, man. Well,
Pound sign BAF World Problem.
Okay, we're really leaving this time. I'm just gonna basically chop this in here and edit, and I got a lot of moving around to do here.
Well,
all right,
you have a week.
This is a 2 podcast worth, so.
Yeah.
All right.
If we just keep talking, maybe it'll be 3 podcasts.
Nah, because then it just loses its
All
content.
right, so I was in Boy Scouts, and I wasn't able to play D&D with the other Boy Scouts because I wasn't cool enough.
Yeah, you told me that.
It was a story I told you before. That's how I earned. That's how I earned my nerd card. I'm an engineer, but at the same time, like, yeah, in Scouts I wasn't. The other Boy Scouts wouldn't let me play D&D with them because I wasn't cool enough. So you can let that sink in. That's pretty hilarious.
Wow.
You can go ahead and delete that from the podcast.